Good evening, everyone. Court dismisses Nnamdi Kanu's case against the federal government. Some time ago, Nnamdi Kanu sued the Attorney General of the Federation and the Department of State Service, DSS, over the violation of his human rights, saying that they are not allowing him to prepare to defend his criminal charges. So today, the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja hears the suit against the federal government, and they dismissed the case. Let us read it down and understand what really happened, and let us discuss the implication of this judgment. This article is from Channels Television, and it reads, Court dismisses Nnamdi Kanu's suit against the federal government. And the article continues. Kanu sues the Attorney General of the Federation and the Department of State Service for $1 billion in damages for alleged rights violation. The ipob leader claimed that the DSS and its Director General violated his right to a fair hearing by allegedly preventing his lawyers from having unhindered interactions with him while he was being detained in the preparation for his defense in his criminal case. While delivering judgment, Justice Okocha held that Kanu failed to provide credible evidence to sustain his claim that his interactions with his lawyers were interfered with, that he was denied unhindered access to his lawyers, and that DSS officials eavesdropped on his conversations with his lawyers, which constituted a breach of his right to a fair hearing. Justice Okocha held that the claims that Nnamdi Kanu was denied unhindered access to his lawyers by the operative of the DSS and that the officials eavesdropped on his conversation with his lawyers in the preparation for his defense could not be established. The ipob leader, through his lawyer Nnamdi Kanu, had sued the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Attorney General of the Federation, the Department of State Service, and its DG as first to fourth respondents, respectively. In the originating summon, he prayed for 8 reliefs. He sought a declaration that his respondents' act of forcible seizure and photocopying of confidential legal documents pertaining to facilitating the preparation of his defense, which were brought to him at the respondent's detention facility by his lawyer, amounted to denial of his right to be defended by legal practitioners of his own choice. He also sought a declaration that the respondent's act of preventing his counsel from taking notes on the details of counsel's professional discussions and consultation with him at DSS detention was unlawful. He further sought a declaration that the respondent's act of eavesdropping on his confidential consultation and conversation with his lawyers amounted to a denial of his rights, among others. Kanu therefore sought an order of injunction restraining and prohibiting the respondents from their act of forcible seizure and photocopying of confidential legal documents brought to him at the detention facilities by his lawyers. He also sought an order mandating the respondents to jointly and severally pay the sum of 1 billion naira as damages for the mental, emotional, psychological, and other damages for he suffered as a result of the breach of his right, among others. But in a court affidavit, the DSS denied allegation leveled against it. In the application deposed by Yamuje Benye, a legal department staffer, he said 11 paragraphs in Kanu's affidavits were untrue. He stated that Kanu was in safe and secure custody of the DSS and that he was not detained in solitary confinement. According to Benye, Kanu was allowed access to his family members and team of lawyers on his visiting days without any hindrance whatsoever. He argued that the ipob leader was permitted to interact and consult with his lawyers on his visiting days without any interference. He said at no time did any DSS personnel seize or confiscate documents brought to Kanu by his lawyers or any other persons. He added that their personnel never denied Kanu's lawyer the professional liberty to perform their lawful duty of discussing, consulting, and interacting with his lawyers. The applicant has consistently requested that various prayers, books, and religious materials be brought to him as part of his confidential fundamental human right, he said. Benye added that Justice Binta Nyako, who is presiding over Kanu's criminal trial, has always maintained that visits to him should always be under supervision, as it is the best practice all over the world. According to him, Mr. Kanu, along with his counsel, was permitted to consult and interact on visiting days in one of the best interview facilities of the DSS to ensure maximum comfort of the applicant and his visitors. The official, who denied allegation that the personnel usually record their interaction during visits, said there is no basis for eavesdropping and recording of their conversation. He said, in line with the service standard operation procedure of the State Security Service, all visitors to her facility are subjected to normal routine security checks and items in their possession are scanned. According to him, this is to avoid unauthorized material making their way into the facility. So let's talk about this matter. So for those who do not understand the case that the judgment was passed today, it was the case that Nnamdi Kanu filed demanding 1 billion naira for violating his fundamental human rights. Nnamdi Kanu claimed that the Department of State Services, the DSS, and the federal government through the Office of the Attorney General violated his fundamental human rights. And so many times, Aloy Ejimakor and other lawyers, they have decried that the DSS don't treat them well at the facility, that they prevent them to do so many things. But what the court is saying is that all these things you people said that DSS is preventing you not to do, you people did not present enough evidence to, prove that what you people are saying is true. Now, if the DSS don't allow maybe, recording items or phone to where you are going to meet Nnamdi Kanu, even though they are listening, you are seeing them. So there is no how you can bring evidence that they are listening to what you are saying. So the legal practitioners, the legal counsels to Nnamdi Kanu, they could be right, they might be right about what they are saying, and but it is very difficult to provide the evidence. And the court of law has to do with the evidence. So that is why the Federal High Court now dismissed the suit, saying that they don't have a credible evidence to back up their claim of the fundamental human right against Nnamdi Kanu. So because of that, they dismissed the case. And now, in the turn of DSS says that anytime anybody comes into the facility, that it is not because of the Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer alone, that anyone coming into the DSS facility, that they must carry out a routine check. It means that they will check you, they will search you, and if you bring some documents, they're going to photocopy it. And this is what Nnamdi Kanu's lawyer don't find funny, because the case is between the DSS and Nnamdi Kanu, the federal government and Nnamdi Kanu. So if the DSS is now photocopying, some secret documents or confidential documents of Nnamdi Kanu, how would they feel? As in, it might leak so many secrets of their preparation in defense of the criminal allegation against Nnamdi Kanu. It will enable the federal government to know the lines of preparation Kanu is making. I think that is absolutely wrong by photocopying those documents. But the DSS is saying, see, this is our routine check. We are not doing this because of Nnamdi Kanu or whatever.
One major priority area in the Southeast, which I think will cool off a great deal of nerves, is for us to bring out Kanu, that gentleman, pull him out. Stop this incarceration. I know some of his pronouncements or maybe lines of actions and so on were offensive to the Nigerian state, and there was a need maybe to take certain actions. But you see, Nigeria itself is a family. That's my picture of Nigeria. When parts of the family feel offended, as a father, as parents, you sit the gentleman down, you sit the child down, and try to find out what are the problems. How do I help you? You don't like the Christmas shoe we bought for you? Okay, we'll get you a new one. Would that solve the problem? You don't like this meal? Can we fix another meal for you? Can we start talking with Kanu? Can we start talking with ipob? Can we start talking with other groups? I think a conversation with some of these teams would go a long way in addressing the problem. We mustn't at all times apply the stick. Bring in some carrot at times. And let's see a carrot and stick diplomacy at play. Okay? We can do that. And I think if we do that, the Southeast, the situation in the Southeast will be highly doused, frankly speaking. All right? Further incarceration only make him more and more relevant, only heightened the heroship over him. He is a hero now, whether we want to accept it or not. And we made him the hero.
Right.
We have made him a hero in the Southeast. If he comes out now, he's wise. He can contest for governorship in any of the states. Nobody will be asking whether he's from that state in the Southeast.
To please consider the insecurity in the entire Southeast and see as a result of the insecurities as a result of the prolonged detention of Nnamdi Kanu and see a way of releasing him so as to restore peace in the entire Southeast. That is the amendment I want to add. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, dear colleagues.
I think what the intention of Honorable Ginger was to find an amicable way of resolving the issue with regards to Nnamdi Kanu, and maybe urge, I think it should be amended to read, urge Mr. President to use any other diplomatic or political approach, granted that this is before the court, to find a lasting solution on this issue, because some of us who are from Southeast, we know where the shoe is pinching us, and we know what you can take out of it, and there will be a healthy security situation in the Southeast. So I urge that the amendment will be to urge Mr. President to use political intervention, diplomatic intervention, asking for his mercy to release Nnamdi Kanu, to enable that zone to find a lasting peace. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity.
Longer Nnamdi Kanu remain in prison, the more the cause he is fighting for is being flourished by his own detention. Tinubu is a president that came from the trenches. He is one of those who fought for democracy and freedom. And I believe, if not for the fact that he went to exile, he could have ended up in prison with us in the 90s. Then someone of his own stature cannot be lectured about democracy or human rights, because we are all in the trenches fighting. So my expectation is that the problem cannot be solved by keeping the leader of the struggle perpetually in prison. You don't solve the problem. You can only solve the problem if you discuss the problem.
I put the question to the governor during our media chat. I said, can you say with finality that the sit-at-home syndrome has been defeated? The governor initially didn't answer the question, and I put it back to him. I said, I asked you a definitive question, sir. Can you say with finality that the sit-at-home syndrome has been defeated, especially in the hinterland? Again, he tried to show me that, yes, progress has been made. Didn't you see people moving around? So I was worried, because the Biafra Day celebration is a day like no other. But where a group that has been proscribed is telling people to go on holiday, the question you ask is, where did it derive that legitimacy from?
Yeah.
To tell people, no, today don't go out. We are celebrating, we are remembering our fallen heroes and all that. To make matters worse in this matter, Simon Ekpa, on his part, said the sit-at-home is not going to be for one day, that it will be from the 29th to the 31st of May. Now you can imagine keeping people in their homes, telling people not to go out for all those days. how would people feed? How would they survive? Staying indoors for a people who are very enterprising, who are no
security post in Aba killing 5 soldiers and 6 civilians during a shootout. Your thoughts?
I think it was one of the most cowardly acts that has been carried out recently. It's quite sad because it's like 1 year down the line, we still have the security challenges. But what bothers me here is that they came in 3 tinted SUVs, Prado. Everybody knows how much a Prado cost. That should tell you how much these people are, how they're being funded. While the 3 SUVs we are approaching, they also had ground support. So there was failure of intelligence, because at that Obiakaba's junction in Obingwa local government area where this attack took place, I heard the junction is a wide junction that they could have been able to tell. And when you see 3 SUVs coming at the time when you have talked about sit at home, I thought there should have been more of intelligence. As sad as it is, but it was a surprise attack. And at this point in time, the National Intelligence Agency have to sit up, because Simon Ekpa is becoming more of a clog in the wheel of progress for the 5 southeastern states. We have, some of us have said that holding down Nnamdi Kanu has been negative, because it has given cause to raise a Simon Ekpa who is not preaching the same sermon as Nnamdi Kanu was preaching, who is preaching violence. He's in Finland. I wonder what the Nigerian embassy in Finland is doing, and the Nigerian foreign minister is doing at this material point in time. He goes on Twitter, he calls out these violent acts, he goes on propaganda, he says he's carrying out referendum and they have been 30 million votes. Apparently, this attack was not done by ipob. This was done by Simon Ekpa's boys, and he probably posted it on Twitter. If you notice, he has been number 1 on the tweet on trends for some time now on Twitter, and he's enjoying all the media attention, and you know, that gathers him more support, gathers him more finances, and these are the finances that he's using. You know, he actually does empowerment programs. Simon Ekpa, he sends funds to these people who actually also see him in the quest of being a benefactor. So the government has to do something about it. Yes, if not, the Southeast is going to continue to be a war theater. And one thing I must also point out, briefly, the military says they're going to go after them, but this is a guerrilla warfare. It's quite difficult to get people in a guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, that's why we're warning that it has to be done within the ambit of the law. But I mean, you make some very good points there, and of course the Nigerian government can't go to Finland and sort of try and extract Simon Ekpa from there. But all they can do is try and get the cooperation of the Finnish government, and the Finns have said that they've tried at one point to pick him up. They said that there just didn't seem to be any evidence directly linking him to what was going on here. But let me come to you, Abba Kaka, and I apologize, I was calling you Abba Kaba, but somebody had written your name that way and forwarded it to me, so I do apologize. But I mean, Kenny Okolobo was talking about this and the linkage to Nnamdi Kanu. Does all this make it less likely, because the name ipob is associated with this, that Nnamdi Kanu will be released anytime soon? Or does it strengthen the argument which he himself makes, that in his absence, the group is running amok, but if he was freed, the reason for their violent protest?
Because we need to look at the causes of the problem in the Southeast. We need to look at what actually caused these very problems. And I could see that when the people of indigenous people of Biafra started, it was a very peaceful movement. In all Nnamdi Kanu has done in the process of sensitizing people for secession, he never used any gun. He never used any form of weapon. But unfortunately, this process has been hijacked. Because people have hijacked it, and especially miscreants. Even when the young man had said openly, publicly, and even in writing, that look, I am not in support of anybody maiming and killing anybody in the southeast. But the likes of Simon Ekpa could not see any reason with that.
Okay. So now that you mentioned Simon Ekpa, he's somewhere in Europe living his life and dishing out orders from that part of the world to people that live in the southeast. And mostly he's being obeyed, or he has people that carry out his orders. Why do you think the southeast governors have not done something about Simon Ekpa specifically? Obviously, the man is powerful and people are listening to him on the ground.
Well, the southeast governors could appeal to the Attorney General or the President, because the law is very clear. What the federal government ought to do is to seek a way to extract the southeast.
All right, a political solution, you say, but it's not only Nnamdi Kanu that in time past has found the flames of IPOB, but you and I know that Simon Ekpa, all right, regardless of Nnamdi Kanu trying to bring a little bit of sense into all that has been happening, we've had Simon Ekpa actually fanning the embers and actually probably stoking people to go out there and continue what they've been doing.
As far as I'm concerned, I don't think Samuel Ekpa is even working with the ipob. If he's serious, he should come back to Nigeria and begin to ask his people to lead. You cannot, stay outside Nigeria and directing misguided people to be committing heinous crime.
I also believe that government should enter. Permit me to come in here. Yes, a lot of people have said that.
Yes.
We know he's still in Finland, but it doesn't change the fact that he's a voice that several people, especially those in the southeast, listen to. So saying that he should come, he should come back. Well, that's probably not a very, very realistic move, but he's still a voice that people listen to, especially those in the southeast.
Yeah, it's a voice. It's a voice, if you remember what I said. It's a voice to misguided elements. It's not a voice to reasonable people. But I can be listening to him. Most people cannot be listening. But some of these people who have been brainwashed will be listening to him. But he's there, enjoying himself. I also believe that this time, government should enter into negotiations with the country where he's operating from and see whether he can be repatriated and to enable him face trial. Because what he's doing is worse than what Nnamdi Kanu was doing. So he should be brought back for trial.
So what is the way forward? How do we prevent this from happening again, whereby we have non-state actors attacking our military personnel? How do we stop it, not just in the southeast, but in all parts of the country?
You see, in all parts of the country, for instance, if I talk of the southeast, that people should come out to volunteer information, the people are scared. They are afraid. They cannot give out information because these people are living within the same people. So our security agencies should intensify efforts to flush out these elements from